Welcome, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and glad you're here tonight. I'm going to go ahead and read the mission statement. Helping Parents Heal is a nonprofit organization dedicated to assisting bereaved parents to become shining light parents by providing support and resources to aid in the healing process. We go a step beyond other groups by allowing the open discussion of spiritual experiences and evidence for the afterlife in a non-dogmatic way. Affiliate groups welcome everyone, regardless of religious or non-religious background, and allow for open dialogue. Attendance today at the Helping Parents Heal meeting is voluntary, and we are here for the benefit of learning from and sharing with other parents whose child has passed away. It is understood that our discussions are intended to be confidential and not designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. However, these Zoom meetings are very healing to parents all over the world, and they will be posted on YouTube so that affiliate members who are not in our time zone can also watch. Helping Parents Heal offers a wide variety of speakers to allow parents to be informed about many possible ways to heal, to connect with their children, and to learn about the afterlife. The views expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect those of Helping Parents Heal, and we ask that you take from their presentations whatever may benefit you personally. So thank you and welcome, and it's all you, Mark.
Thank you, Lynn, and thank you for all you do to make these interviews happen. So welcome. You've heard of Shining Light Parents. Well, you're about to learn from some of them this evening. And the definition is that right after a child passes, many of the parents, we would say, are deeply grieving, and understandably so, and may be stuck. And again, this isn't judgmental, it's just the way it goes, in lower energy feelings, emotions like anger and guilt and shock and blame and so on. However, some of them have learned how to journey toward being what we call shining light parents. That is, they are able to focus more on higher energy emotions and ways of being, peace, joy, love, gratitude, not all the time, but much of the time. And part of their motivation for doing that is because they realize their kids are in a realm characterized by those higher energy emotions. And the parents can best perceive their child's living presence when they too are choosing moment by moment those higher feeling thoughts. So to learn more about that, you can see article number 82 at soulproof.com about that journey. Now, I'm especially honored to interview this group this evening because they are quite likely highly evolved souls who volunteered to go through this greatest of heartbreaks. Why? Because they knew as souls about the exquisite and powerful opportunities for growth, service, eternal consciousness development, which of course helps everyone on our planet, and they take with that with them wherever they go. So again, a huge honor, sacred privilege to do this. Finally, I'd like to mention before we start the questions how attendees can find affiliate leaders, and that's by visiting helpingparentsheal.org/affiliate leaders. So that's to find groups in your area. And then caring listeners, which is helpingparentsheal.org/caring listeners. That is shining light parents who at no charge will listen, share what worked for them, and help you along this journey. So with that in mind, we'll begin the questions, and Tava has volunteered to be our first interviewee. So tell us, Tava, please, about Christina. How did she change worlds?
Thanks, Mark. I'm happy to be here. Christina lived for 17 years and 9 months, and she transitioned March 5th of 2015. So it's been 8.5 years. And I know that as we heal, it's important that we tell our story over and over and over until maybe we don't need to tell it anymore. And what I choose to focus on now is Christina's life rather than Christina's death. So Christina lived 17 years and 9 months of an amazing, brilliant life. She did have some health issues, but I choose to focus on her healthy times. And so I'm just so blessed because I got to be the mother of the most amazing human being I've ever known. And she's brought me places now since her passing that I would have never, ever gone had she not passed. So I'll leave it at
Beautiful.
that.
Yeah, well put. And how did you discover Helping Parents Heal, Tava, and what services did you use at first?
Yeah. I first discovered it through Suzanne Giesman. I had met her 2 months after Christina passed in an absolutely miraculous way, in which she called me on the telephone on Mother's Day and told me that the whispers that I was hearing were my daughter's voice and that I should talk back to them. So that was just mind blowing for me. And she later then told me that Helping Parents Heal about this group and that they had an in-person group starting in Tampa where I lived at the time. So I went to the very first Tampa in-person meeting. And then it was like the second or third meeting that you spoke, actually, Mark Pitstick. To me, he was Dr. Pitstick at the time. And you know how it is on this journey. You hear, sometimes you just hear exactly what you need to hear right when you need to hear it. And I heard that from Mark. I needed the left brain stuff. And it was just like every word he spoke was like just pouring love and into my soul. It was so life-changing. And I was just like, yes, yes, yes. And so so it was amazing. And ever since then, I've been part of Helping Parents Heal. So it's been since 2016, and it's been an unbelievable 7 years.
Awesome. Yeah, we had some wonderful meetings. And one of the best part is hugging your beautiful mom. She talk about an embodiment of love. It's like an earth angel. What a sweetheart. Yeah, so tell us what motivated you to help in your role and how have you helped
Yeah,
others?
I had gotten involved, in addition to that Tampa group, I'd gotten involved in a smaller group that was meeting online, and it just happened to be a Madison, Wisconsin group. And I'm also from Wisconsin originally. So that kind of fit for me. But this little group had formed anyway, and we all got involved in the group Mary was leading in Madison, and I'll let her speak to that. And at that point, it was just a small group. But I then, at some point, Mary wrote a book all about how to connect with your child. It's called 21 Day Doorway Across the Veil. And I edited the book, or helped a little bit. Christina and I did. And Mary and I had some absolute miracles occur during this. Like, Christina changed my phone. I mean, just crazy things happened. She changed Mary. At any rate, so then I sort of offered to kind of help her with the group. And then I was like, but we shouldn't call it Helping Parents Heal Madison. Maybe we should call it and we kind of together came up with connecting with our loved ones, because that's what we were doing. We were doing everything based on Mary's book, 21 Day Doorway Across the Veil. And so it became an only online group at that point. And so we started with a tiny group. And when Mary and I sort of stepped aside here in the last few weeks, it was about 3,000 members. So we just
Wow.
kind of happened, sort of.
Wow, way to make an impact. So what can you share, Tava, about how you have learned to sense Christina's presence and what other parents might try?
Yeah. So, okay. So much. At the beginning, what I discovered was Christina was a math and science person. And so the way she did things, she would like put things in my life that were kind of strange and unusual, and had me take note of them. And then they would all come together in a moment. And so the very first time this happened was a few months after she transitioned. And I don't have time to get into what all happened, but it all came into a moment where this thing happened, and I felt literally the peace that passes all understanding. So at this point in my life, I was sort of a Christian. I went to church a few times a year, and when we die, we go to heaven, end of story. But I was not like some of these people that were already like into spirituality at the beginning. I was a know nothing completely. And so when I fell on the ground outside the front door of my house as this butterfly swirled around my head twice, I felt this, and I just start like put my hand up and just like, Christina, thank you. Oh my gosh, like you're here. I can't even tell you. So once that happened, it was just like everything opened up for me. And shortly thereafter, I got to hear use talk, Mark, and other things happen. And I've had okay, so and what that allowed for me was to accept just every little thing that she sends. So anyone who has heard me speak before knows that, like, if a bird chirps really loudly, I'm like, yes, okay, I know you're here, sweetheart. So it's not just like a little this sign or that sign. It's just like anything. If I think about her out of the blue, that's her. She's reminding me she's there. So she communicates with me in all kinds of ways like that. Yes, we also have communication. Like if I do one of Mary's connection sessions, we'll do some automatic writing and we'll connect in that way. But the biggest moments of like aha moments and moments that literally like I know my body chemistry actually changed were these moments where she came to me and just sort of entered me, came through me, and I just felt this incredible sense of love and peace that I had never experienced at all before that. I felt the love that you feel when you have your kids and you just love them so much, and the endorphins and all that kind of stuff and the oxytocin. But yeah, it's just been amazing.
Yeah. Well, I certainly can hear and see and feel that, and I know others do as well. So, what are a few things that you wish other parents knew more deeply that you've learned?
Yeah, several. I mean, basically that obviously your child's still with you, and that if you just accept anything, anytime, any kind of sense that you have that your child's with you, that if you just accept that is your child, it just sort of opens the channels more and more, I feel like. And I think but as a mental health counselor, so that's something unusual about my journey, and that maybe helped me a little bit as a leader, as an affiliate leader, was that I was a mental health counselor and actually a grief specialist prior to my daughter passing. I had no clue what I was doing, now I know that I had no clue, but I mean, I was following the standard modalities. But what I now know is, and what I think that we don't maybe talk about enough, is that our brains are traumatized when our child dies, particularly if it was sudden and unexpected. But even if it's a diagnosis, that is a sudden and unexpected thing. And so I have learned, how to sort of reassure parents about the trauma involved in your brain chemistry following the transition of a child. And I've done all my professional training since then on trauma-informed therapy, and learned different trauma-informed therapy modalities to help myself and other people, like just understand the physiological changes that happen in our brain when something this traumatic happens.
Right. Good.
Yeah.
And so maybe one of the toughest ones, what's your belief or knowing, Tava, about there being a meaning and a timing behind even something as seemingly horrific as a child's passing?
Yeah, mine is kind of different. I mean, everyone's is different, and that's why I don't like to really talk about the exact timing and stuff. But in a way, with Christina, the timing actually helped, and the way she transitioned helped, and it's very odd, but obviously I now know that this all had to happen for me to get awake, be awakened. But it also had to happen. I mean, it happened, and medically there have been thousands and thousands and thousands of people that have been helped because of who she was and how she transitioned, and the the ripples, basically the ripples. I mean, I heard from people all over the world about now they're getting medical help for what they have, which is dysautonomia, different parts of the autonomic nervous system failing. And if she hadn't transitioned the way she did, and really she took her life, and she had been sick for a long time, and yeah, and anyway, yeah, I was the therapist, and I was working with people who actually were
Okay. So
yeah.
you can see there is some meaning.
Oh,
And
totally.
well, thank you very much for sharing that. Awesome. Mary, you are up next, please. And tell us about your Chaz. And you are muted, dear.
Mute.
There we go. And I'm still not hearing you right now.
Is that okay? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Chaz was a young Marine. He left, however, by his own hands. And it was one of those situations that was a complete shock to everybody. No one expected us, certainly not us. But at the point that I found out about helping parents heal, it had been 4 years at that point. And this was back in the start, sort of, I guess, the start of 2016. I also found out by a Suzanne Giesman class that I was lucky enough to attend, which really opened me up quite a bit to what was going on and what was happening. So it really wasn't a case of me being early in my grief. There had been a lot of things that had happened. But as I said, it had been 4 years down the road. So that was he left in 2012. So it's been 11 years now for me. Yeah, I found out about helping parents heal, and I think I became an affiliate leader as quickly as I joined, I think. Some of that was due to my background. I have worked as a human resource manager, trainer, instructional designer at Fortune 100 companies, as well as for the state of Wisconsin. So I had a teaching and training type of background, and I just felt I could add best in that arena. So that was sort of how I got to that point.
Okay. And then tell us about how you started this group that grew to 3,000 people recently.
Well, I think we were maybe at about 50. We went to Zoom very early on. I think it was still in beta state when we went to it, but I have been using it at work, and I like to joke, but it isn't much of a joke, that the first couple months of meetings in person were me and a participant named Mary Johnson looking across the table at each other, because no matter what I did, there didn't seem to be much of a group convening itself, and so it was small. I think we were about we ended up having early on about 50 some people, and then Tava doesn't give herself enough credit, but she turned to me at one point and said, well, how many people are part of are from Madison, Wisconsin? I said, well, including myself, probably like 3, type of thing. And she said, well, we should change the name. And I was like, okay. So we did, and that was sort of in conjunction with some of the other work that we had been doing in terms of holding classes and helping other parents connect with their children. So it seemed to make perfect sense to us, and Elizabeth was willing for us to go with the name change. And I think it just coincided with the time when parents, a lot of times when we would have Zoom meetings, we'd have people from Alaska, we'd have people from New York, we'd have people from all sorts of places, because people forget about the growth pattern of helping parents heal. And now there are many, many affiliates, and I am so glad for that. But at that time, there were not. So we would get all sorts of people dropping in to our meetings. And that, when we changed the name and said what we were really about, which was connecting parents with their children in spirit, it of course, a lot of parents want that. That's what their objective is to be able to not just know that their child is always with them, but to be able to speak to them, to be able to see them, to be able to hear them, that kind of thing. So that would, I say, probably the point at which the great growth happened was because of our name change to some extent, and our focus on sort of different types of modalities where people would be able to use to get in touch with their child in spirit.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
so that,
And
for
what
the
have you learned? How can you best sense Chaz's living presence and the other parents might try?
well, Chaz is sort of a character in himself. He prefers communication by talking, so he talks to me very frequently. It is so amazing to me. And I've told this story before, but the very first time I actually heard his voice, I had my routine down. I did have to work, and so I go to work, and as soon as I hit the doors to the parking lot, the tears would start, and I'd be crying for a while. And it was about a 40-minute drive home. And then after the tears were over with, at one point, I'm driving the truck home and thinking about my latest series of problems at work. And what I heard, and this was about the only time I really felt it was so loud, it felt like it was outside my head, but it probably wasn't. But he literally shouted at me. He sounded like he was shouting across like football fields or something. It was that loud. But he used language I would never, ever in my lifetime use. And he said, he got my attention the way he normally would used to. He'd say, "Mom, Mom." And then he said, "You have days that absolutely suck." And I was just like, I about drove off the road because he was using language. It was his language. It was not language I would ever use. And yet several days later, I was trying to talk myself out of it, that I wanted to hear from him so badly. I must have imagined all of this. So that sort of led me to realize that no, that was not true. And that, that there were ways to talk to him. So
Okay.
sort of started
And
this
so,
off.
so to be clear, there's the saying, see someone in your mind's eye, but then we also say you can hear them as if in your mind's ear. So it's not as though you heard his voice outwardly like you're hearing mine.
No, I don't think so. Although that one time it was so loud, it was, which was probably what he had to do to get my attention. But, it seemed like it was outside.
Okay. All right. So that'll help other parents trust that voice that may be a little different, come in unexpected ways. So what are some things you have learned that you wish other parents knew more deeply?
I would say a couple things. One is that it does take effort to be able to connect with your child, and you have to regularly connect through that pathway from your heart to their heart. And so you have to make some effort. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm joking.
It's okay. Would you like us to come back to you?
No, that's okay. We'll get through this. So you do have to work at it to some extent, but you do have to dedicate yourself to practicing regularly to connect with your child, whichever way you're going to connect with them. Tickle my throat, I'm sorry. The other thing I would say is that it is never them in spirit that is the reason why we're not hearing. It is always us. And so we have to learn how to do a couple things. One of the things that we have to learn how to do is ask for help. We always tell our children, ask for help. Well, there are grief counselors, there are teachers, there are people who are authors, such as yourself. There are different ways that you can get help in terms of breaking through and making that connection. So that's one thing. Tava uses a phrase I like a lot, and she says, accept, don't expect. And that's another thing that parents have to do, is not think that they're going to hear in a certain way or a certain manner. It's different for every parent. It's different for every
situation. And let me give you a moment to recover your voice there and just share something that I was going to share during the break. And that is with both you and Tava having children who, there's suicide took their lives. I mean, all these phrases are wrong because really it's just another ticket back home. And for those, so many of our interviewers had parents like that, or interviewees had children who passed that way. And really, from a cosmic perspective, it's just another ticket back home, like an accident or illness and so on. And, these ignorant images that it's sinful and a slap in the face of God, those arose in the Dark Ages, in the 1400s. And it's so important. I mean, I went to theology school. It's so important that people release that. So again, if people will look at article number 4 at soulproof.com, I address all of these things to give parents peace and know that their kids either just couldn't take anymore or they were imbalanced. But in either way, they wouldn't do it purposely to hurt anyone. They just were ready to move on. And so hopefully that helps. All right.
Yeah,
So let's wrap with what is your current knowing or belief about there being a time in a meeting when and how Chaz passed?
He has told me that he was never meant to live a long life. And so that sort of puts some perspective on what you just said, Dr. Pitstick, about, there's not a deliberate action. So it could have been an accident. It could have been how he did end his life. It could have been an illness. It could have been any number of things, but his window had occurred. It was really disappointing to me as a parent to hear that he was never meant to live a long life, but that's what he has told me. And he has also told me that, this I don't know if I believe or not. He's also told me that he met the goals of several people, not just myself, by passing when he did. And I say I only half believe that's because exactly the type of thing he would have said to me when he was here, so I wouldn't feel guilty, right? That I was the reason why I left. So I don't know. I do know that soul planning is very, very complicated, more complex than we can understand. So it's entirely possible.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. And, people like you and me can understand that there can be a rhyme and a reason to this. Certainly our angels, guides, and the creator of all that exists can as well.
Yeah.
Well, thank you and God bless. Carolyn, you are up next, please. And hello, and tell us about your dear Kara, please.
Kara was 16 years old when she was in a car accident in January of 2020. And she was just such an amazing child. She loved being with her family. She loved being with her mom. We did everything together. And even though she was a teenager, she always made time to hang out with me and to do my errands with me, walk the dogs with me. We skied and we paddleboarded. We did everything. And so she was just a joy, always. One of those kids that just, I just never worried about her. She was just so easy. She loved the outdoors, loved the mountains. She's a gifted athlete, and she was just a kind person. And now when I think back, she used to get a little frustrated with me when I would be short with people, or if I would cut someone off with the car, or be kind of rude to a person working in a store. And she used to always make me think that I really have to improve my behavior because I really want to make her proud of me. And that was before she transitioned and after.
Yes, tough discovering that our kids are our teachers, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what happens when you sign up with an evolved one like that. So how did you learn about helping parents heal, and how did you first, how were you first helped by them?
Kara let me know that she was around very shortly after transitioning. And so I just knew I had to find her. I started Googling NDEs, and then reading about those, I was like, oh, I think there's an afterlife. Like, I know about heaven, but never really thought about it. So Googling afterlife, and Suzanne Gieseman's book came up, Still Right Here, which Lynn might be familiar with. And that book led me to Helping Parents Heal. And Helping Parents Heal was just a savior. I was not a spiritual person. I did not know anything about this prior to Kara transitioning. And I just took everything that they offered, took it all in.
What a powerful statement. By the way, I knew I had to find her. That's going into our book. Beautiful. And so tell me how you knew it was time for you to start serving others, and how have you done that?
Well, as I said, it saved me. I couldn't imagine life without Kara in it. And so quickly I found Helping Parents Heal, and I went to their YouTube page where they just have all these videos from all the interviews over the years. And I just started at the first one and went through every one. And early on, the ones that really, really inspired me and really gave me hope were the moms who were telling their stories. And they were just talking about how hopeless it was at the beginning, and then they were able to find their kids. And I'm getting to that point. I'm still early in my journey. It's 3.5 years, but I have found ways to connect with Kara, and with the help of the moms before me. And I just feel like I can really help new moms on this journey. I'm an engineer and I'm very left-brained. None of this is easy, and it can be frustrating, and you do have to put the work in. But my gosh, it's just amazing when you start making those connections and start understanding that it's not you, that it's them coming to you. So I just want to share that with other moms who may be struggling, and dads, and grow and learn with them.
Yeah, so you mentioned learning how to connect with her. What are some ways you can share that others might try?
Well, first is really believing and trusting. You know, I would get physical sensations and I just couldn't wrap my head around it, and I wasn't trusting it. But I learned how to trust. But then honestly, taking Mary's courses really helped me. Silencing the mind and sitting in silence and making that a daily practice. And then eventually I just learned how to spirit write with Kara. So I can sit down and I'm writing, but she's putting the thoughts in my head that I'm writing down. And it just took a lot of patience and time and practice and support from other people who are also working on this. So that's one of the major ways that I communicate with her. But she also is with me all the time. She's with me on walks. She watches sunsets with me all the time. I use the pendulum to say good night and I love you to her every night, and just have her part of my daily.
Beautiful. And I love so much that you're in a room, and yeah, I can just feel that little cute picture of her up on the wall high, and she looks like she might be a bit of a character. Am I right?
Yes, she is.
Yeah. So what are 3 things that you've learned that you wish other parents knew more deeply?
Well, I definitely think the hope is key, and it's very hard to find that hope at the beginning, but I think listening to moms like us will give you that hope that you can get there, and you can get there. It may be your child is right next to you, and even though you may not be able to feel them yet or communicate with them yet, you will get there. And you know, I love what Elizabeth always says: know that your child is happy and healthy at home, and you don't have to worry about them because they're doing great.
Beautiful. Oh boy, here come those tears again. So what is your belief or knowing about there being a timing, a rhyme and a reason, even something that to many humans seems to be a senseless tragedy?
Right. I couldn't accept that it was just senseless. I couldn't accept that this was just a random accident. And so as I learned more, soul planning does resonate with me. Thinking back now, Carrie used to tell me all the time that she didn't want to grow up. And I think that I think her soul knew that she wasn't going to be here long. And she was such an amazing person, amazing to not only her family, but all of her friends, and taught us so much. And I just think that now she can do even more good on the other side and reach more people. So I really do believe that she planned to leave early, and that it was going to be the hardest lesson of our lives we're left behind, but it would break our heart open, and we would find a way to learn about this and to understand this.
Well, you certainly are. And 2.5 years in, kudos for what you're doing. Impressive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh boy. Whew, I'm gonna take a deep breath here. Maybe everybody else wants to. This is powerful, powerful stuff. So much energy. Barb, you are up next, please.
Hello.
Hello, and tell us about Jordan, please. How do you bring you to this party?
Sure. Jordan is my middle child. Wonderful, wonderful spirit, and he was a fantastic uh, uh, kid growing up. He transitioned at the age of 25, almost 26, and he always was very laid back, a super kind kid, extremely intellectual. He taught himself different languages. He was very mathematical. So at the age of 25, he was almost 26 when he transitioned. He was like 2 months from his PhD in nuclear physics. So he was very, very gifted in that area. And so, yeah, he made an impression, and we were extremely surprised. We did not see that coming, that he was in pain and we didn't know it. So he was at University of Michigan, and we were living in North Carolina at the time, and he'd been away since he was 17 because he graduated early and stuff, and was on his own, and we just didn't know. And so we kind of had to go through analyzing that, and kind of the guilt that kind of goes along with that. But I know he's continuing his studies, and I feel like there's going to be a time where he's going to I feel like he's going to work with me to explain more of what he's continuing to learn about the physics of the universe and maybe consciousness. That's what I'm getting.
Beautiful. And how long ago was that? The transition?
It will be 2 years next month.
Wow. So also pretty recent.
Yes.
Well, I can guarantee all of you, I mean, what are we up to now? 3 out of 4. That there is reason for a lot of what these young ones are going through. They're like they're canaries in a coal mine. We have ruined our food and air and water so much, and especially the evolved sensitive kids, their brains just can't deal with those forever chemicals and all the drugs and suboptimal nutrition, etc. So there are people working on this, and we are dedicated to creating meaning and blessings for other kids, hopefully helping save humanity based upon, at some point we just have to do something about it. So how did you discover Helping Parents Heal, and what services did you first avail yourself of?
Okay. Well, my story with Helping Parents Heal, I come from a background of really, I hadn't a belief system. I grew up Catholic, and then kind of ran away from that, and as soon as I could, and then just didn't really have anything to fall back on. And so I've had people pass in my life, but they were, people, grandparents or parents that are older, and that was supposed to happen. So I didn't really think of it. And then when this happened with Jordan, I dove into finding classes for meditation. And I lived in North Carolina. There happened to be an Art of Living Center like a half hour away. So I took meditation classes. I started seeking like any other class that was vaguely something that I might learn something from. I took it. And one of them was Susan Giesman. I didn't know her. And then I sat next to Annie and Mark, who are in here, and they told me about Helping Parents Heal. And so I was so thrilled that they were here joining us tonight, because that's how I happened to find out about Helping Parents Heal. And I took advantage of many of the same things like Carolyn said about videos, and and caring listeners I reached out to them. Probably I wish I would have reached out sooner because it really helped, but I kept kind of putting it off until I was in kind of a state of I got to do something. And then when I reached out, I felt better immediately. And
Good.
so I do recommend Caring Listeners to uh, to anyone that, you know, needs someone to talk to. So
Thank you. And in the last 2 years, what have you learned? How can you optimally sense Jordan's presence?
okay, so it's growing and it's changing, and and I am learning to trust and all that. But uh, he's amazing. He gives me songs. You know, the next song on the radio just happens to be something that answers the questions that I was thinking of.
Mm.
Or the stereo just turns on and there's an appropriate song. I sit outside and we can ask for a falling star and he will provide. So
Wow.
it's this just happened a few
Mm.
weeks ago. We were camping and it was super cold, so we wanted to go inside really quick, my husband and I, and so we gave him a countdown. Okay, we're going in 10 seconds, Jordan. And we were down to 4, and there went the shooting star right where we said it was going to be. So he's pretty amazing. And I am new to Mary's class, and I just not that long ago, within a few weeks or so, I heard patience. And so patience is a very good thing for me to, because you as a parent, we want it like right now. We want to be able to do all these things that we see other people doing, but it does take patience and it does take the learning. And so and I'm just thrilled with everything I get. So
Yeah, I can tell. And for viewers and attendees, I give you Exhibit A here, Barb. 2 years later, and some parents think you're going to take this grief to your grave, and some do, and there's no judgment. But there's another way, and a way to demonstrate that. So powerful. What are some things that you wish more parents knew that you've learned so far?
well, I think you just kind of addressed it right there, is like, you don't have to suffer. I think our culture says we have to suffer. And I experience joy. I go out and dance. I love walking in nature. It gives me so much connection, I think. Uh, but I feel like if I'm smiling and I don't feel bad, celebrate that. And sometimes we think we have to feel guilty about that. How can I smile when my child's not here? But I think that's what they want us to do. And so I do celebrate the times that I feel good. And of course, it's not all the time, but for, when it happens, rejoice because there's nothing better.
Mm, mm, mm. And what are your beliefs or knowing perhaps this point about there being a timing and a meaning behind all this?
I truly believe in a soul plan. I've been to a medium that said his first exit point was at age 25, and he was like less than 2 weeks from his 26th birthday.
Hmm.
And so I think soul plan, and this challenge was built in for me. It was something that I could expand and grow, and I have, and I continue to do it. And being a part of helping parents heal is, I sometimes think it's selfish because it's helping me so much as I'm helping others, I hope,
Hmm.
you know. And so um I feel like my life has transformed in a way for the better. We can't go back. And going forward, I'm excited about.
Beautiful. Oh boy. Woo. Way to be a great example. Thank you so much. And Annie and Mark, you're up, our final two guests. And while they're coming on, I just want to mention, because several of the interviewees have mentioned soul planning, pre-birth planning, for attendees this evening, viewers who want to learn more about that. You can see my article number 25. These are all free articles at soulproof.com to learn about that concept. And Annie and Mark, you're up, please.
Yes, hello. Thank you.
Hello. So tell us about Zenzi, please.
Zenzi was an amazing drummer, just gifted since age 2. We noticed it and had a natural rhythm and was just, loved music, loved it so much, knew the lyrics of all songs, and just brought music to everything, and was a talker. Loved to talk since way young. I remember driving in the car sometimes and I would have to say, "Oh, I just need a little quiet right now, please." So it's either talking, singing, playing music. So yeah, and transitioned March 30th of 2018 from complications of leukemia. The leukemia was diagnosed only 4.5 days before, and we were just getting settled in the hospital for treatment. And Zenzi had a different plan than going on our trip to St. George, Utah with us. So we were on a family vacation as well when Zenzi transitioned. So being from Portland, Oregon, we were in Salt Lake City at the time of Z's transition. I just figured it was higher up in altitude and an easier exit. I don't know, that made me feel better somehow or another. Yeah.
And how did you two discover Helping Parents Heal, and how did they help you initially?
I don't even really remember how I discovered Helping Parents Heal. I listened to a lot of Sandra Champlain, We Don't Die podcasts. I think eventually I just stumbled upon Helping Parents Heal, and then Suzanne Giesman, and just Suzanne's story especially helped me. Her story and her positive attitude and her shining light just really inspired me. And Elizabeth, and Mark Ireland lives in Portland. His Earth child is in Portland, so we met up with Mark Ireland at one point and had coffee with him. So that's, yeah, just kept running into people. And I love that Barb is here with us today, because I forgot that we had told her about
Yeah,
it.
that is fairly magical.
Very, very much. Yeah.
Super. And so how did you know that it was time for you to serve others, and how are you doing that?
You know, I feel like so much of both of our lives were building up to this transition of our youngest child. We have Zenzi had an older brother, has an older brother, 3.5 years older. And Annie and I were both very active in groups around Portland. I had been involved with men's circles and men's groups and emotional literacy for men for, upwards of 20 years at the time. And Annie's a teacher and worked on the board of the Waldorf School and began the Parent Teacher Association at that school. And it was a natural step for us, especially when we looked into it. There was not an active group in the Portland area. And we hardly had to discuss it. We knew right away that, this was ours and our way to serve and to share and just, create a circle to be able to bring in that magic and the healing that is, so necessary and critical to anybody that's experienced something like this.
Beautiful. Now I'd like to hear from both of you individually from now on, and especially from you, Mark, because it does run about 9-to-1, moms to dads. And so thank you for being here and sharing. So what have you learned about how you can best sense Zenzi's living presence?
I tell you, it is just getting out of my own way and asking. I did not have a consistent meditation practice until Zenzi transition. And even though I have the discipline to meditate on a daily basis, I still don't have that. I sometimes don't even remember to ask spirit or ask Z to come to me. So it's just trusting and remembering, because amazingly enough, anytime I ask, Zenzi shows up right away. You know, and I know that she's busy doing other things too, but I'll apologize, and she's like, "No, I'm here," and it's immediate.
Great. What else? Either of you.
Okay. One way we communicate is like Barb, music. We use music as a way to communicate. The next song will represent something. It's that proof that they're with us always. Like some of the songs that come on are just like, how did this song I haven't heard forever? How did this happen just, I don't know, yesterday? It's just, there's so many stories that go with the music, and how music was such an important part of Zenzi's life. That's why, and knowing all the lyrics, like I mentioned earlier, Z knew the lyrics of all the songs. So sometimes I have to remember to really listen to the lyrics as a message. And early on in my, just grieving so heavily in the beginning, I remember feeling a warm sensation on my arm in bed one night, or my hand. And it was real. And I thought, wow, that is powerful. And that gave me comfort. And then another thing I had just remembered right now that I had done after going to a We Don't Die event was the recording of the voice. I don't even know what they call that anymore. Where like I had the shower on and you use noise and they can speak through the noise or the sound. And I would do that. I'd turn the shower on, I'd record it, I'd ask Z questions, and then leave a pause, and then ask another question, leave a pause, and then go back and listen to the recording. And I have a recording that I heard, Aim Equal, which is a story that I could share if it needs to, but leukemia spelled backwards was a message to me one night I will call it a dream visit. Why leukemia? And I heard spell leukemia backwards. And I was like, I'm thinking this in my head, spell leukemia backwards, what? And I started out AIM, and I went, oh my word, there's a word there, AIM. And if you spell out the rest, EKEUL or UEL, you can sound it out. It sounds like equal, AIM equal. Well, Zenzi was all about equality, and it was profound, like just and he loved to spell things backwards and say words backwards. So that was really mind-boggling 6 months after Zenzi transition. So
Great. And so what are some things that you two have learned that you'd like to share with other parents they might learn more deeply?
It has been mentioned, Suzanne Giesman's book, Still Right Here. And just that title is, for me, I, have a bit of a left brain, but I bring my skepticism into every circumstance I get. And I continue to do that because I think it's wise, right? We have to seek out that proof in many ways. And then I can fully believe. And so trust is number one, that our children are still right here, and not just our children. My father is in spirit, my ancestors, my guides, that they are all right here with us. And that gives me the presence and the reassurance and the trust to transcend this grief. This grief journey has been profound. The third thing that I would say is that my brain or the ego or the way that I thought that my pain would be, as big and dark and scary and nasty as the pain I had made up to be, when I went into that, it was never, ever as dark and scary as I made it out to be.
Mm.
And the rewards were always exponentially better.
Yep.
So going right through the middle of it and being amazed that I'm not as, I'm still here. And
Yeah,
then
isn't that the way it is in life? I love the quote Norman Vincent Peale. He said, "Fear knocked on my door. Faith answered. No one was there." Yeah, beautiful way to describe that. How about you, Annie?
Well, as Mark was talking, and I thought about you saying nine women for every one man. I want to change what I was going to say, but what worked for me too was pulling Mark along and saying, watch Suzanne Wiesman's documentary with me. And then having him go to an event in Orlando, exactly a year after Zenzi's transition date. We went to Orlando to a We Don't Die event and experienced a seance, experienced unbelievable things at this event. And I just kept, wanting Mark to be a part of this journey I was taking. And he joined in on that. So encouraging moms and women who do have a man in their life to go along with them in their grief, on the grief journey. It's really helped me so much to have that common language, but also for them to remember they're here for a reason and they have a purpose here still, even though their child is not here, that they are here and they have a purpose. And that with intention and purpose, they will feel more like themselves again. They will start thriving too. It takes some time. It takes some work, as everybody else had said as well. And exploring the afterlife. But that was, yeah. So, yeah.
Awesome. And what would you like to share, please, about what your current beliefs are, or knowing beyond belief about there being a rhyme and a reason behind all this?
Mark, it was astounding when I part of the journey, it became really apparent to me that I like to think that I was on a really good trajectory of my life, and I could have ended my life from that trajectory, remembered as a really good guy, a great contributor in all this. And this lifetime, what I signed up for, what Annie signed up for, and our son Ben and Zenzi, all of us, was that this was going to happen. That Zenzi was going to take this, this challenge in this lifetime, and it was going to end early. That their life was going to be short. And as I have gone into that pain and ridden this life journey as well as I can, it has already increased my life and my my happiness exponentially, better than I could ever imagine. And I love to use the Khalil Gibran quote: "The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain."
Top that, Annie.
Okay, I'm going to top it with a quote that Zenzi wrote on a whiteboard in our kitchen 2 weeks before they transitioned. I was gone for the week at a teaching event. Mark asked Zenzi to change the quote on the whiteboard. The other quote had been there forever. Well, the quote was by Albus Dumbledore. "It is the unknown we fear, and death and darkness." So 2 weeks before, forgot all about it, came home after our trip back to Portland and just couldn't imagine moving forward in life, and read that and just fell to the floor and just was like, wow. So yeah, So I'm just going to leave it at that quote. It's the unknown, we fear death and darkness, nothing more.
Beautiful. Oh my, well, we did it again, Lynn, or actually the parents did it again. Awesome. I've had tears in my eyes, my heart swelled, inspired. Thank you all so much. I would like a comment. Mark said something like, I felt kind of bad, asking her to take her time because I know she's doing other things for Zenzi. And so for all parents, there's good evidence that our kids can multi-locate. That is, their energy can manifest in different times and places. And on the Soul Phone project, the feedback we've got is they're contacting us by whatever means does not at all interfere with their other goals and activities because of this ability to multi-locate. We have that same ability, by the way. Michael Newton, PhD, Journey of Souls, Destiny of Souls, says that on average, the average human being only uses about 25% of his or her totality, life force, to have this earthly experience. But we're not conscious of that. But then your kids who no longer have that limitation of understanding reality, so they're conscious multi-locators. So to all of you, don't worry about, impinging upon their time. They're glad to do it. And it's kind of like on Earth, if they are too busy, they won't answer your call. So, Lynn, anything you would like to share here?
Yeah, your stories just continue to amaze us, and we thank you for all you do for helping parents heal and for sharing your kids with us and your own journey. So we love you, and thanks for taking time out of your night. Thank you, Mark, for all you do.
Thank you all. God bless. This is wonderful. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You.
Good to see you, Barb. I
Bye,
have to say,
everybody.
sorry, real quick, Carolyn, I love that we're wearing the same kind of outfit tonight.
You guys do match.
I didn't notice. That's so great.
Uniform.
Like I changed right before this. I must have gotten the message.
Those kids are together. I know they are.
Yes, they are. Well, they're similar ages too. Zenzi was almost 16. So yeah.
Okay.
All
That's
right.
great. Thank you. Thank you,
All
Mark.
right, guys,
Thank
have a
you,
good
Liz.
night. Bye.
Thank you.